We are live. Well, welcome to King of the Rockies. First time
Thank you.
LAN event. Are you excited to be here? And again, tell again, tell everyone where you're from, where you came from.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here. Super cool venue, stage, everything. Everybody's really cool.
I'm gonna make you keep laughing.
I know it's all right. It's all right. No, we got all day. So, yeah. So my name is Matt, aka Soldier. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Um, I come from playing Age of Mythology early back in the day, and then AoE 3, and of course AoE 4, and also Age of Empires Online. So.
Yep. Yeah, so now kind of talking about AoE4, where you came from. What was your first go-to Civ when you picked up the game, when you kind of started out and even started maybe competing a little bit too?
Yeah, so I think at launch, pretty much everybody was playing French. It was like the go-to civ that you had to play. And I've always liked raiding civs, so like cavalry raiding. Even in like AoE 3, I would play like the Lakota or Sioux, how they used to be called, and just like I just like tearing down people with their economy and like suffocating them.
It's funny you say that because I feel like your brother's kind of similar the same way. He was always known as the feudal age player. I was like when I was watching early GUA games, it was like here comes the 111.
Yeah,
He's about to just start production, start everything forward. So, do you think the previous RTS experience just allowed you? You're like, hey, I got higher APM. I'm used to being able to manage different control groups, things like that.
yeah. That's pretty much always been my play style, and I think it helps a lot because everybody has a game plan, right? Going into the game, and they want to play a certain way. And if you can like at least force idle time, even if you don't kill villagers, it slows down everything, and like they have to adapt. And sometimes people aren't so great at adapting, and I think that's actually one of my stronger suits is
Yeah,
playing
I
civs
feel like
like
that's
that.
where you'll see some of the people come from, like StarCraft 2, for example, where they have their first 6 minutes, they knew exactly what they're doing, and you can see them practice that. But in AoE 4, there is no, yeah, your first 6 minutes, you might be able to do the same every game,
Yeah,
but everything starts getting thrown upside down. Did you have a bad spawn? Did your gold spawn behind? Did you have forward gold? Whatever the map changes may be. So you definitely have to have that different variability. It's more of a strategy and a macro based game as well as, having some micro in
yeah.
play as
No,
well.
I love causing chaos, and like I think if you feel that, I think like early in my gaming career, I felt like the chaos when you're like idled and like all that. And so like you realize that causes like stress, and you just like then I'm just like, oh, I want to do the same thing to my opponent. So
So coming from AoE 3, coming from Age of Mythology, you said, hey, we talked about some new civs here with AoE 4. What gods did you play for AoM or God maybe? Because I know that was a game that was mainly you played one and that was it.
yeah, a lot of times in AOM you play one god. I think I mostly played Greeks, Zeus. I like I can't remember the Metsuna name. That's crazy, but doing the raid with the horse archer.
Okay.
I forgot what they were called. Just like yeah, early pressure. That was like my thing. Poseidon, you could have cheaper stables and cheaper cavalry. Um, but I played a decent amount of civs in that. So Loki, Thor. I mean, the only
Yeah,
ones I didn't really play was like Egyptian, and I always hated playing against Egyptian because they're like they would just drop their god powers and drop a castle and
was there a certain player that mained Egyptians all the time that you're like, oh, I can't, you think about Divine with AoE 4, he's English, and I think Magic and Mista both had their main go-to gods for AoM. Was there an Egyptian player for the most part that you're like, I hate to play up against X?
not really. I mean, there is one guy that actually me and my brother have met him, Chrono JJ. He's a longtime AOM
Oh,
player.
yeah.
Yeah, he used to play Egyptian, but he would play it different than other people. He would play in H2 with like the weaker barracks units
Yeah.
and catch people by surprise a lot. And uh, yeah, he was pretty well known for that, and he's still playing. So can't wait to see him in AOM.
Yeah. So that's where obviously, AOM qualifiers are coming up. You planning to grind out? You planning on trying to make it on into Red Bull for AOM?
I mean, that would be great, but like I don't really know too many details about it. Seems like it's just a few players, maybe.
I think now it's open qualifiers, but I have no idea about any of the details
Okay.
that are going on. I know that there was some annoyances from certain people who are like it's unfair. Certain
Yeah.
people have had access. All the complaints that
Right.
it's understandable. I get it. I wouldn't want to be a player being like, hey, guy's been playing for 6 months and I haven't been playing at all. That doesn't seem very fair.
Yeah. I would
But
love to spam a bunch of games and try to qualify, but dude, there's so many. There's still like guys that have been playing Ancient Mythology on Boobly for like a decade, and there's just like, I mean, I don't know too many. I know this. I don't know if they still play, but like Army Corps, obviously Magic, Mista. There's like tons of like veterans that have been playing for so long. It'll be the game changed a lot with the new with Retold, but it's gonna be tough to pass those guys up. So I would love to grind it out, get a bunch of games, but
The nostalgia factor's still there, so
yeah,
we know people are going to
it'll
be
be fun.
picking up, trying it out, and getting even the campaign. And I know a lot of people who are like, I remember playing that thing when I was 6, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're going to download it, they're going to try it out, and then maybe dabble in some ranked games and become the next new grinder out there.
yeah. That's It's gonna be exciting for sure.
Yeah, so a lot about some of the old AoE franchises, but now we're talking back to AoE 4. We talked about kind of some civs, but now we have a lot of civ changes. So, what are you most excited for on the civ changes coming forward?
Just Roost basically is like that's one of my favorite civs, and just seeing how the bounty system's been reworked. Um, I can't wait to watch a few games to see how people are playing them, if they're gonna even play them, because it's like some people haven't had any practice on the new patch, or maybe one day. Like, how many games can you fit in? So like figuring out, do you still make a hunting cabin at the start? I heard Puppy talking about maybe making two at the start. So just those early build orders, because I mean you got to be pretty crisp with what you're doing. So Roost is going to be interesting, and I don't know. I can't remember much of the changes right now. I know there's so many. It's like
And that's a cool thing about the most previous patches. We obviously people have been waiting on to come on, we want some new changes, and then the list comes out and it's like, oh my gosh, awesome, awesome.
it's
And
like
I feel like they've done a better job here recently of not making these quadruple changes where all of a sudden one civ gets 5 different nerfs to it, which sometimes they need that, but they've kind of more gradually done it and really kept the balance there. Yes, there's some civs out there that should be permabans. HRE is that civ in my eyes
that's
right
what my
now.
brother keeps saying. I haven't
Feudal HRE, just be
That's what
ready.
he's
It's
saying.
nuts. So that's one where I like seeing that change and them getting a little buff. I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But I'm like, all right, I'm not the balance step. I'm not the devs. I'm not the people making the changes. I'll just throw my suggestions and ideas. I just cast. I just talk about the game.
Yeah, no, it seems like they boosted a lot of civs. Like one another interesting change was the Malian TC. They go on
Yes.
gold now, so that's gonna I think synergize a little bit better with them. I don't know if they're gonna start going 2 TC right off the bat. So
Yeah, and that's where it's funny. A lot of the other players we talk to, it's the same change. It's the main two things people will talk about. It's the Molly and Roos, and
yep, yep,
it's like are they still going to cow boom? Because in my eyes, I'm like cow boom seems like it's that is their core. I'm like, do
yeah,
they really gain that much from getting extra villagers? Yes, the one dimensionalness makes it easy, but easy's
yeah,
not always the best route.
yeah. It'll be interesting because I don't know that too many people play the Malians. So yeah, we'll see. I'm sure. I actually saw who was it practice? I think Munch was practicing them. So
Okay.
we got one there.
Yeah, we'll maybe get to see some exciting new games, maybe exciting second TC with Molly, which I can't tell the last time I've seen a Molly player drop a
Yeah,
second TC.
it's I don't know why it's so unusual, especially since they can put the landmark to stone
Yeah.
right off the bat. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you try to get to age 3 pretty quick and get those cows down. So yeah,
Yeah, it's just I feel like Molly is that space where it's like the old HRE with the relics. It's like you get 3 relics and they win. It's like Molly. It's like they get their cow boom up, they win.
right.
You can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Maybe the TC, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe
see,
they need to.
and that's where you don't know till you know, and that's where it won't even take one day. It's going to take weeks to figure out what actually is the meta, what makes the most sense. But talk about changes that happen. Is there any changes you'd like to see coming forward for AoE 4 specifically?
I think something with the siege, probably the Springles. I don't know what exactly would be the best route to go, but I feel like mangonels are some of the most exciting units in the game. And if you get a couple of them out, like you can really have some like good volleys on archers or whatever. Um, and then just like a single Springle can really put a halt to that and slow down the game, the pace of the game. So I don't know, maybe something like if they're in H4, just so like you have more time for mangonels to, and maybe you got to retune mangonels so they don't kill everything.
Well, do you remember where mangonels used to be? I still remember where you'd hit a mangonel in the middle of a mill and it would make every single farm on the outside go on fire. They had like double the AoE factor at least, but
Yeah,
it's one that I'm a caster, obviously. I like the wow factors. I like being able to get all hyped up
yeah,
and oh my gosh.
yeah,
And that's where, just like you said, Springles, I see the first Springle and I'm like, Okay,
Yeah,
we're in for a long one.
yeah, it's slowing down the pace of the game, and spearmen are cheap. They protect all the siege really well against cavalry. So yeah, I think that'll help if they can do something with Springolds. And it sounds like they're gonna, based on the little note at
It
the bottom of the
yeah,
page.
they gave a little future update that they plan on, that is their main goal right now. And it is weird to have a siege unit counter the other siege unit. So then
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, my other opponent has 3 Springolds, I need to have one more.
Right.
But then all
Right.
of a sudden when you take out all the Springolds, now yours are worthless again. This isn't
Yeah.
the old Springold meta back in the
Yeah.
day.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is always that constant annoyance. But that's where talking about wow factors, there aren't a ton, demo ships at the old days. You used
Yeah.
to have massive explosions, not so much anymore. So there aren't as many of these wow factors in AoE 4. But it's coming from the games you came from, is there anything you'd like to see? I know snare is one of those that is that
Yeah.
that big cool micro factor that allows you to kind of show your differences from your opponent in AoE 3. Is that one of the things you maybe would like to see in AoE 4 as well, or doesn't really make
Yeah,
as
I
much
think
sense?
just gameplay wise for AoE 4, one of the things I would like to see is putting more importance on map control and
Okay.
just and hunts. Like a lot of civs can just kind of sit in their base, get gold generation, or like Chinese put the Barbican out there, and then they get their farms a little bit later. There's like
Yeah.
kind of a small window to attack them, in my opinion. Always an annoying civ for me to play against, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think more importance on map control, and I think this roost change might be a good start in that direction because now their bounty is based on the hunt that they're gathering, so they and boars, so they want to get out on the map, and
It forces them to get out, and it allows the opponents not to have to play the little mini game early on.
yeah,
And also, in my eyes, it allows the map makers in the futures to have a lot more expansive ideas. You
yeah,
can have maps with 8, 10 deer packs now if you want it. I'm not saying it's a
really,
good
yeah,
idea. I'm just saying you can make that happen because now it's not, oh wow, Roos gets 600 bounty within a minute and they auto win the game.
yeah,
I still remember early Frisian Marshes where Roos was a permaban because they got bounty from sheep
yeah,
and it was just crazy how
yeah.
good they were there. So
Yeah, I think extra deer packs would actually be maybe like one per side would be a good move to, and then changing the gather rate of farms potentially
I
that gets people out on the map, and you can't just necessarily go 2 TC right away and just kind of sit and just boom.
I'm
So
I'm right there
I'm all
with
about
you.
aggression. So
I'm 100% there. Nothing's worse than seeing the keeps get dropped and being like, all right, we're in for a long one, boys. Um, all right, well, that's a lot about kind of future changes and stuff. Now back to the LAN event. Obviously we're here in person. Is there anyone that you're most excited to play against that you're like, oh, I really want to try to take down my brother, or
yeah,
one of the other random people are like, nah, just whatever happens, happens type.
I'm excited for playing against Nyan today. I beat him in the qualifiers, and I was surprised I was able to take it 3-0 because he's always been pretty. I mean, there's points where he was way up the ladder, and he's beaten me in some series in different tournaments. So I'm expecting a tough matchup.
First series, tough matchup, and that's a good thing for the tourney. I know we had another LAN, King of the North, where some of the earlier matchups were a little bit one-sided potentially, and I have a little bit higher expectations for this event here.
Yeah, I mean, just watch it, just like watching people set up everything, and then like watching them play and do their hotkeys. Like people are quick. Like there's not going to be any easy matchups. Maybe Puppy and Wham are a bit above.
They're the easy matchups. You heard that? You heard him say it. He said maybe Puppy and Whams are going to be the easy matchups.
Honestly, I could see them dropping some games too, because like I'm pretty impressed, and a lot of these guys don't necessarily play that much. Mokami, that's how you say his name, right?
Yeah, Makomi. I don't know
Yeah,
how to say it, but I know he's a team game player. He only
he
started
started
playing
playing
ones
like
for
October.
this tournament.
Yeah, like October. Now he's like, I think he's got an account in like the top 50. It's like, I mean, I'll be nervous to play against him, like, cause my expectations for myself would be, I'm hoping for like honestly like third place would be
Okay.
really good, third or fourth place. Um, so yeah, I mean, but like I said, there's not going to be any easy matchups.
There you go. Well, I think everyone assumes what the finals are going to be, but maybe do you have any maybe shocking guesses, or if not shocking guesses, what do you think the final score is going to end up being?
Uh, I don't think there's going to be like anything too shocking. I think honestly, I think we have the two best players in the world here today. I mean, you see some of their recent results versus Marine Lord. Wham beat Marine Lord recently, and Beast. They both beat BC recently. They had to play each other to qualify
for
the
Red
one
Bull.
qualifying spot.
Which watching that series, it was not a short series by any mean.
Yeah,
They
I think
took it the distance, and it
they
was
showed
whew.
like how many games that day?
Well, didn't they? They did two best of. Was it two best of sevens or two best of nine? It was like I don't.
It's
It was like
crazy.
14 games or something, and I was like, I don't know how they played that many games in one day.
Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, I honestly think they're the two best players in the world. So I do think there's going to be some games taken off them today from somebody else, but or this weekend. But yeah, I'd be pretty. It'd be like super exciting if somebody beat them in a
Yeah,
series. But for them to get knocked out of the finals, they would have to lose two series. So yeah,
a little bit more difficult there, especially if you're not playing your brother early on there. Um, so next, I would say is what do you think is your next plans for Age of Empires streaming, whatever it may be? I know you mentioned earlier maybe starting to build that YouTube channel up. You
yeah.
plan on doing that with maybe AOM Retold or kind of just whatever next?
Yeah. I've actually been posting videos every other day on my YouTube since the start of the year. So I'm planning to keep doing that. It's been really fun, like seeing the growth that I've had
Yeah.
in the following. So yeah, I've been alternating between AOE 3 and AOM every other day. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna play AOM, get some games, get some videos, and yeah, hopefully you just keep having fun and things pop off.
There you go. Well, I know a lot of the AoE4 players, viewers out there are going to be trying AOM. So if you want to, find out any new strats, find out any old strats from the old AOM,
Right.
make sure to check out, throw a follow on the YouTube channel. And obviously, we'll be seeing some wild games today and throughout this weekend here.